Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed, yes, to another edition of the Titans Talk right here on the Mark Moses Show as we talk all things Eastern Florida athletics. Right now, we're joined by a fine gentleman, the head baseball coach of the Titans. He is head coach Mitch Gallagher. We're going to talk some Titans baseball. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate coming on, and let's start with this. I know you don't want me to say this, but yes, you lost last night 9-4 against Polk State. Let's start there. What happened in this game, Coach?
Honestly, we played a pretty good game. Our pitchers filled up the zone, which is really what we've been looking for our staff to improve on as a whole. They just executed. They laid down some really good bunts early in the game that, it's hard to defend a well-executed bunt. Their guys came out ready to execute that. We made some mistakes on the base paths and then just came up short with runners in scoring position. But I think it was a lot closer than the score reflected. I think they just took advantage of some really good baseball plays early on in the game.
You guys, I'm looking at the schedule there, 15-22, 8-13 in the conference. What are your thoughts overall on the season so far then?
We've been battle tested for sure. I think as a group, we faced a lot of adversity. March as a whole was tough. Looking ahead before the season started, we knew this was going to be our toughest stretch. And we got hit with the flu right at the worst time. So when we played, Central Florida and Florida Southwest, we're top two in the conference. We were actually probably at about 60 to 70% healthy. So definitely stumbled there a little bit. Got back on track last weekend against Indian River. Now we're at full health. So we're looking to just continue that momentum as we enter the last month of the season.
All right, so when you're in those situations where you only have 60% of your roster and the opponent does not care, they have no sympathy for you.
No, they do not.
They don't. Is that one of those moments in your coaching profession where you really have to have your players step up and maybe do things they're not usually meant to do on your team?
Yeah, we definitely, some guys had to fill into different roles. Our guys that weren't starting before had to step up into starting pitching roles. We had outfielders playing the infield. It was just kind of all hands on deck. And really there wasn't too much sloppy play, really. It was just kind of, you get to that point where the depth comes into play and, you run out of just pitchers as a whole and you run out of, options on defense and everything like that. So it wasn't like we just got beat right out of the gate. It was just kind of as the game progressed each time, you could kind of see where the health and the lack of depth kind of came into play.
You're talking about what we just went through the last 31 days of March. And it's interesting. You just look at the box scores. You look at the scores overall. It's not like you guys are getting embarrassed. You are manufacturing runs. You are putting up a fight in every single game, especially in the last, I'd say, 2.5 weeks. Do you feel like, all right, we are fighting, we are competitive, but we still have to get better going in here into April?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing we've been looking for is starting pitching. We had some injuries early in the season that we lost some of our starting pitchers. So looking for guys to step up and really just keep the game close in the first 5 innings, because our offense has been doing a pretty good job. But we do have a style of baseball where we like to steal bases. We like to bunt and get guys in motion. And, if the starting pitching kind of falters out of the gate and you're chasing a few runs, it's harder to do some of that stuff. So if we get good starting pitching, we're able to manufacture some of those runs early on and put a little bit of pressure on the teams. That's when we've seen we're able to kind of pull away with a lead early in the game.
Okay, so at your level, the JUCO level, what is a good start for a starting pitcher for the Titans? Do you want 6 strong innings? How do you try to look at it, Coach?
If we get 5 innings of 3-4 run baseball, honestly, at our level, that's good enough. It's not a great start, but it definitely keeps us in the mix. And I do like our bullpen arms and what they can do later in the game to where that keeps it close enough to where it doesn't limit what we can do offensively. Obviously, you want 6, 7, 8 innings, but the reality is for our level, what we need is 5 or 6 innings of 3 to 4 run baseball, and that's going to be good enough for what we need to do on the offensive side.
You know this team. You recruit it. You put it together. The idea of starting pitching do you look at your starter and go like, all right, he does not have it. This is not working. We got it. Like, is there a moment in the game coaching stamp, your stance, like, all right, I got to get him out of there?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely notice when they don't have their stuff. Unfortunately, where we're at right now, we kind of just need to get that length regardless, just because if we pull our start, let's say we pull our Thursday starter after 2, 3 innings, and then we have to go deep into our bullpen on Thursday, then all of those guys are going to have to bounce back on Saturday on short rest. So you kind of just, sometimes you just have to think a little bit more ahead in situations like that. But the last few weeks, our starting pitching has been pretty good and been able to give us 5, 6 strong innings, which has been really good. And you kind of see the difference in the quality of play based off that.
Great answer. We're here with head baseball coach at Eastern Florida, Mitch Gallagher. I love that answer because it's kind of like what I do. You're thinking in the moment, but then you're also planning 3-4 days ahead. It's always like multiple. Is that what it's like to be a head coach where you're not just thinking of one game, but you're thinking of the next 10 games at the same time?
Yeah, we try to take it one series at a time, and we tell our guys, you just got to focus on the game at hand and take it one game at a time. But you can't help but think ahead. So it does become a give and take. The reality is when you're in the game, you're going to do what it takes to win that game. So if you have a shot to win, you're not going to save anybody. You're going to go and throw your guys. But also keeping in mind that if you are chasing 5 or 6 runs early on, maybe it's not the time to throw your closer, your better guys out of the bullpen. You want to kind of see how much you can get from whoever's on the mound at the time.
All right. I'm going to give you a gut reaction type question. In your starting lineup, give me some shout outs to some players who have really stepped up for you, especially at the plate here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So Bryce Jackson's been the big one. Just mainstay. He's floated anywhere from, he's really established himself in the 2-hole or the 3-hole for us. Just never really gives at bats away. He's a guy that he's not going to chase pitches out of the zone. You're going to have to throw strikes to him in order to get him out. And when you do throw strikes to him, he does a lot of damage. So he's been really good there. But then we have 3 freshmen that have really stepped up. Omir Santos, Andrew Prieto, Ray Yarrow have really come around in conference for us. They're all hitting above 300. Omir and Andrew are closer to 400 now. They might have eclipsed that after last weekend. They're both just, again, similar to Bryce, where they're not going to strike out a lot. They're not going to chase a lot of pitches out of the zone. You are going to have to pitch to them in order to beat them, and they can do a lot of stuff when you make mistakes over the plate. So those guys have been really good for us.
Do you also want to give a shout out to your coaching staff? I know it's not just you. The floor is yours, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, starting with my offensive coaches, Eli and Drew, they've been really good. We were a little slow out of the gates offensively, knowing what we could do. And then Drew wanted the opportunity to move over to first base coach because he does a really good job picking up tendencies with certain pitchers and able to get runners in motion more. And we were trying to relay it from the dugout, but our guys weren't really taking the hints. So having him over at first base, getting guys in motion, we doubled our stolen base count from what we had early in the season to what we've been doing as of late. So just getting a lot more guys into scoring position throughout the game has been a big help. And Eli's just steady as they come. He doesn't, he's not going to get too big or too down. He stays very even keeled and keeps the mood very high. So through some of the low points in our season, he's definitely kept our hitters on a very even keel. So those guys have been doing a great job. And then, I mean, Sean with the pitching staff, it has been tough to kind of piece together certain things with the injuries and everything that have happened. But again, just continuing to put in the work with the guys down in the bullpen. And now that we're starting to see some more consistency on the starting pitching side, helps out what we can do in the bullpen. So they've all been doing a really good job.
That's awesome. You had to say that. All right. They're all watching this. All right. They want to know you as head coach. I know you see them all the time, but they still want to hear it. All right. They do.
Right.
You talk about those 3 freshmen. Hey, we're here going into April. How proud are you of those young guys where you recruit them You get them on campus. They're in camp. Now they're playing. They're stepping up. How proud are you as a coach to see these young guys step up like that?
Very proud. I've mentioned it a few times during the season, but our freshmen have had they've carried themselves with a lot of maturity, which is not something you really see all the time. And obviously, when freshmen come into college, they're accustomed to having a ton of success from high school.
Yeah.
And they're going to deal with failure and they're going to deal with adversity. But time and time again, I see these guys, the way they bounce back and the way they respond after a bad outing or a bad game at the plate and stuff like that. They've really, really stayed very even keeled. So that's what I'm most proud of. Obviously, the results have been good for them, but just the way they've been responding to adversity and handling what a college season is gives me a lot of hope for their futures and their careers. Because again, baseball is just a game of failure, and you're gonna have to roll with the punches and learn to deal with it. They've been doing a really good job of that this year.
I'm happy you brought that up because I think about like opening day for Major League Baseball where they're hyping Paul Skeens and then he gets completely rocked and
Right.
kicked, and Aaron Judge, maybe the best hitter in baseball, keeps striking out in big moments. Why do you think that is very important to say where it is a game where you are going to fail like that?
It's just important to keep it in perspective. When you look at baseball in a small sample size, you can find a 10 for 20 streak or you can find an 0 for 20 streak. After the World Baseball Classic, there was the stat going around that in the last 3 games, the U.S. lineup hit, I think it was like 159. And that's what I told our guys. Like, if you look at baseball in a small sample size like that, it's very easy to say, oh, well, they're struggling, they're not doing well. But then you give it another 3 games and all of a sudden that lineup of Hall of Famers and All-Stars and everything like that, they're going to do what they're capable of. So if you let those low moments get you down, that's when you're going to really, really start to struggle. But if you keep putting in the work and keep putting in the consistency and have a consistent mentality. And again, it's not just not getting down on yourself, but it's also not getting too high where, you have a good weekend and you think you're the baddest dude around. And then the game's going to humble you really quick. So trying to keep a consistent mentality and a consistent work ethic and just keep putting in the work every day is huge for them. And I really think they've done a good job of that.
All right. How hard is it then to manufacture runs? Because knuckleheads like me say this all the time. Got to manufacture small ball. How hard is that, coach, to actually do that with a team?
It's hard. I mean, the reality is you're going to get on base roughly 45% of the time at our level. So if you don't get that leadoff guy on, it's hard to sacrifice bunts. So then you're looking at different options. What other tools do we have to get that runner from first to second base? Can we steal, delayed steal, hit and run, any of that stuff? What are the options at plate? So there's a lot of things that factor into it. The reality is our mentality is get as many guys to second base as we can. The more opportunities we have to have guys in scoring position, the more successful we've been. When we have games where we only get 5 guys to second base, even if you're 2 for 5, you're only batting in 2 runs. So you're hitting 400 in that situation, but you're only scoring 2, maybe 3 runs. Whereas if we can there's games where we get 15, 16, 17 guys in scoring position because we're being aggressive on the base paths, we're being gritty in the box and working counts and drawing walks and just getting on base, as many guys as we can get on base as we can to then get them to second. If we have, 12 plus guys in scoring position in a game, we get 4 or 5 hits. You're still around that 300 clip, but again, you're manufacturing 4, 5, 6 runs. So for us, it's get on base, get to second is our mentality.
I need that as a t-shirt. Eastern Florida, get on second. That's what it needs to be. I like that.
Exactly.
All right, real quick, the schedule. All right, you played last night. I believe you're off today. What's the schedule moving forward, Coach?
Yep. So we have State College of Florida on Thursday night at home, and then we go to them for a doubleheader on Saturday. Another tough team, 3rd in the conference right now, but we saw them earlier in the year in a midweek. Really good depth in their offensive lineup. Some good starting pitching from them as well. So it'll be a good weekend. And then, after that, Daytona.
This is it, isn't it? This is I know, like, especially around Christmas time, you're like, yeah, get me to the spring. Let's get this. Is this kind of the grinder time for your team now for the next couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, really the way our conference works, it's just so cutthroat. The top team and the bottom team aren't really separated by all that much. So all it takes is you string together 2, 3 good weekends in a row. All of a sudden, when you were feeling down and out, now not only are you in the playoffs, but you're potentially hosting a playoff game. So again, just taking it game by game, series by series, trying to win each series the rest of the way out puts us in a really good spot to be in the playoffs.
All right, well, we'll get you on right before the playoffs. His name is Mitch Gallagher, head baseball coach here at Eastern Florida. Coach, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck on your next series, and I hope I can get you on again. All right?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.